So it's no longer news that the future is here with us. That is why we've come to Eko Atlantic City. We have come to show you different steps of building construction in Akland properties. Today with me on this video is Mr. Muyiwa of the Akland property. So very shortly you'll be seeing him show you different processes of construction here in Eko Atlantic City. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show where we have our executive, Mr. Muyiwa of the Akland property. So today he's going to help us show us the different processes of building construction here in Akland properties. Mr. Muyiwa, you're welcome back to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you.
So can you help us, show us different steps of building construction here in Akland, Eko Atlantic City?
Okay, first I would like to say thank you, and I want to welcome you to what we call our experience center. Usually I know that many of you guys are used to the flashy experience centers, but this is a construction site. So we like to break it down into what it looks like before we plaster fully. And that's why we call it our experience center, because you get to see a part of the building in its raw state.
Yes.
And we like it more like that, because one of the things we have learned in doing our business is this: most investors, when they give money to developers to build a property for them, what they get in the end is a finished product. They don't get to understand what goes into the building itself. So in some instances, you are not even able to ascertain the integrity of the building that is being given to you. But here at Akland, we try to break it down into bits. We might not be able to go into the full-fledged engineering, but at least some basic procedures that an average investor should understand, like our block work process, our ceiling work process, and our floor work process. That should give you an insight into what we do and how we do it around here. So I'll just run you very quickly through the first phase of the procedures, which is our block work process. So the first level of our block work process is the block laying itself. And the kind of blocks you are looking at here, they are not the regular type of blocks that you get to see around town. These are very high quality Holocon blocks here. Usually we call them grade 45 around here, and this is from ITB. ITB is the best in the industry when it comes to making of all these block materials and all that. And then part of the things we pay attention to also on these block works is our symmetry. You look at our linings, they are near perfect, because here in Akland we pay attention to the minimal details. We are so particular about the alignment of how our block works be per time, such that even when you come in to look at them at the raw state, you see them very neat and properly arranged. And one other thing that I would like you to know, see this wire mesh here. We also apply it in between our blocks. At every 3 layers of block laying here, we apply this wire mesh in between the blocks. And what this does for us is it gives stability. It allows the blocks to settle properly, because you know that usually there's a bit of concrete in between blocks for it to solidify properly. So we apply this wire mesh at every 3 layers for stability, so that we don't have our block works tilting at any point in time. And that's why you see that our lines, our symmetry are very, very organized. So that's just a little bit about our block works. And now what you see here is the column. The column, we pay attention to our columns here a lot, because I call it the strength of the building. Nothing must go wrong with these columns here. They are very, very, they are reinforced concrete, yes. And also we ensure that this mesh wire is also applied onto our columns, so that by the time it is plastered, we don't have any kind of cracks, either straight line crack or whatsoever on our column, because we don't want a situation whereby we plaster and there is a crack in between, because these are very heavy buildings, and you have to get it right around here too. And moving to this point here, what you see on this block here is called tiling. It's a mixture of concrete that we sprinkle on all our block works. And what this tiling does for us basically is this: one, it helps us to hold our plaster firmly. When it is plastered, it helps us to hold it firmly, and also tiling fills up any kind of hole that might have come maybe from the factory on any of the blocks. It covers it up so that by the time you plaster, there is no hollow patch on your block works. And this does not also allow for any kind of cracks on your works, either plaster or on the blocks. So now we move to the plastering proper itself. You can see the thickness of our plaster around us here. This is very thick, and this is the Atlantic standard that we give at every point in time. And then looking at it, you would understand that it's a zigzag format, and this is very, very deliberate. For very massive projects like this, by the time you plaster, usually it takes a time for the plaster to cure, dry off, and it settles in properly. When it comes in straight line plastering, most of the time you are likely to get a straight line crack. But when you have it in a zigzag format like this, which our expatriates advised that we do on all our projects, when you finish here, as today, whenever you have to start again, all you just need to do is just continue from that point, and then you can plaster the entire building without having any kind of cracks anywhere on the property. And after the plastering, we come to the screed. Here we have our 6 layers of screeding, and then one of the things we say humorously is that when you bring a bad painter, it does a good job, because the screening itself has already been done very thoroughly, very smooth, and very good. And then after the screen works, now we come to the first layer painting here. This is the first layer painting. If you're not looking very carefully, you're most likely going to take them for the same. But the screed is different from the first layer painting. So this is the end point of what our block works looks like. And at the point of final painting, then the block work terminates there. Then after here, we can now move to our ceiling works. Now, in our client, we don't use POP. The reason is because POP is time bound, and after a while, you see that they get expired and they can fall off. We would not want any kind of accidents within any of our towers, so we'd rather use the gypsum board, which is usually dropped down. You can see the steel frames up there holding them to the beams. We usually drop our ceiling down, reason being that above the ceiling we have our PPR pipes, which is usually for hot and cold water, and we also have cables that pass above the ceiling. And if you look at it from this end, this is the raw state of the board here, and this is the final finishing of what the board looks like. And also at every corner in each apartment of our building, we usually have an access panel, which is what this box signifies here. The essence of the access panel is this: when there's a need for maintenance somewhere above the ceiling, all you need to do is to open up the access panel, do the maintenance, and you can come out, close it up, and you still maintain your aesthetics. And part of what we also pay attention to, our firefighting equipment within all our towers, from the basement to the paint. We have our smoke detectors, and we also have our water sprinklers, and they're automatic. When there's temperature within any part of the building beyond the regular, this triggers off automatically to ensure that water is taken out, fire is taken out of that particular region. And also, just to, in addition to that, within the city, we have water hydrants all around, and in the situation whereby there is need for more water to be used to take out maybe some heavy fire, then the hydrants are available to ensure that the fire is taken out with immediate effect. So now to our floor works. Basically, we have just about 4 layers. On the ground here itself is the concrete, which is the ground itself, the plaster of the floor. This black layer that you're looking at here, it represents a penetrative water sealant. And what this does for us is this: from our basement to our pent also, We seal every floor, every apartment. And the reason for doing that is this: in the event that there's a breaking of a pipe on the higher floor, the water sealant does not allow water to flow to the lower floor. And how do we test our water sealant? Whenever a place is sealed in any of our projects, we flush that particular place with water for about 10 to 14 days. We allow the water stay. And then once we realize that the water is not going lower than, it's not dripping to a lower floor, we can take the water out, apply the concrete cement before putting very quality tiles on the floor. And these are very high grade porcelain tiles that we use around for all of our projects. So just a little bit about what our block work process, the ceiling work and the floor work processes look like at Akman, because like I said earlier, we are so big on quality. We are big on attention to details, because part of the things that are very, very paramount to us is for investors who are giving us funds, we also have to protect their investment within any of our projects. And that's why we go all out to ensure that these properties are highly secured, such that every resident that comes in, either as a full-time resident or as a guest at any point in time, they are safe at every point in time. So that's just a little bit about how we do it around here at Ackland Properties.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muyiwa. Thank you so much. At a point, you mentioned something about fire.
Yes.
So I'm asking, are there likely some measures you have to retain fire in an apartment in case maybe there's an emergency in the apartment?
Okay, there are some areas in our towers that have fire rated doors, an average of 2 hours. And then when there's an incident, for instance, what we do is to move people to that safe zone very quickly. Fire won't be able to penetrate there for an average of at least 2 hours. And we are so sure and certain that within that timeline, we would have taken out any kind of fire within any part of the tower.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from the horse's mouth, Mr. Muyiwa. What are you still waiting for? There are numbers you see right away on your screen. Just dial the numbers. You have several apartments here to buy. Don't forget, we have so many around the prestigious American consulate. So give us a call right away. Let's bring you to Eko Atlantic City. The future of Africa is with us in Eko Atlantic City. See you guys on our next video. Bye.